What's up everybody, it's Sean here, and I'm here today to give you guys an early look at the upcoming Raised by Wolves collaboration with Saucony on this Jazz 81. Before I begin this review, I want to give a huge thank you over to Saucony Canada for sending me this pair early. These are set to drop on Raised by Wolves website on February 17th, and then there's going to be a wider global release on February 20th. So Raised by Wolves, for those who aren't familiar with them, is a Canadian-based streetwear brand, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is their second collaboration with Saucony. So at the time that I'm filming this, which is a couple weeks before the release, I don't have information in regards to the official theme or colorway of the shoe, as well as the pricing, but if I had to guess, I'd suspect that they're going to retail in the low 100 US dollar range, and then probably somewhere around 150 Canadian dollars if I had to guess. So for anyone following my channel, you probably noticed that in recent months, I've become a lot more interested in Saucony as a brand. So I'm not going to pretend and act like I'm super knowledgeable about the brand. I am definitely learning more about them. And in fact, this is my very first pair of the Jazz 81 silhouette. So based on my research, this is obviously one of the most iconic Saucony silhouettes of all time, and it was considered one of their pinnacle running shoes back in the 1980s. But of course, nowadays in 2023, this is a shoe that's strictly worn for casual use, and it has that really retro classic look to it, which makes it a very easy shoe to pull off nowadays. So first things first, here's a quick look at the box. So this comes in the natural looking cardboard box, and we have both Raised by Wolves and Saucony co-branding pressed onto the top, and then featured throughout the box, the sides and the bottom as well, we have the speckling of red paint, which almost looks like blood splatter. As for the shoe itself, so taking a deep dive into the details, the majority of the upper is constructed out of a black colored canvas. So you can see this canvas here prominently on the toe box, and then overlaid on top of the front toe cap, we have what feels like a fleece-like material, which is done in this brown color. Covering the eyelets, we have a similar material, which isn't exactly suede, and like I said, it's much more like a fleece-like material, but to the touch, it almost feels a bit like a synthetic suede. On the mid panel, you can see we have more of that black canvas, and then overlaid on top of the mid panel, we have the Saucony stripe, which is constructed out of a black colored tumbled leather. Surrounding the bottom of the heel, we have more of that black colored fleece-like material, and then the top of the heel is covered in that tumbled black leather, and featured across we have Saucony branding, which is done in the shiny black finish. As far as the laces go, so these come with these thick rope style laces, which has a bit of a stretchy feel to them. If you're not feeling the black laces and you want to give the shoe a little bit more pop and contrast, they also give you these white colored rope laces as well as a pale red colored lace as well. Underneath this, so we have a thin mesh tongue, and on the top of the tongue, embroidered across, we have both Raised by Wolves branding along with the Saucony logo in red. As far as the insoles go, so these were pretty dope. They came with a cork lined insole, which adds a whole level of premiumness to the shoe. And underneath the cork, we have what feels like a polyurethane layer instead of your traditional foam. So the upper of the Jazz 81 sits atop this dual density foam midsole. So the bottom layer, which is done in white with speckling of red paint, this is a bit more of a softer foam, whereas the red foam above it on the heel, this feels a bit stiffer to the touch and definitely adds some stability and structure for the back end of the shoe. Finally, turning this pair over to the bottom, so the outsole here is constructed out of a semi-translucent rubber. We have this triangular shaped traction pattern found throughout, and underneath the rubber, we have Raised by Wolves branding. So that breaks down the look and the construction of this pair. And for those wondering about sizing, so I had no idea how Jazz 81s fit, so I took a chance and got these in my true size, which is a size 10. So my feet are a little bit on the wider side, and for models like, for example, the Shadow 6000, I usually go up to a 10.5. However, this pair I felt ran pretty true to size. So even though my feet are a little bit wider, getting these in a size 10, it fit me really nicely in a somewhat snug way. So if you have really wide feet, or if you just like more of a spacious toe box, then you should be fine going up a half size as well. But for everyone else, I think just sticking with your true size should be good. Moving on to the comfort, so unfortunately this is a retro sneaker from the 80s, so the comfort of the shoe is pretty minimalistic. It feels pretty stiff underfoot, it's very stable, and there's not too much from a softness and step and comfort perspective. But that's not to say that it's uncomfortable by any means. It just means if you're expecting something super plush with very modern tech, then you will definitely not like these. But if you're someone that likes more of those retro inspired shoes that have more of a minimalistic feel, then I think you're going to be a fan of this model. Finally, in terms of the overall quality and craftsmanship, so first off, material quality honestly felt a little bit disappointing. So the canvas was decent, don't get me wrong about that, but these overlays on top had a bit of a strange fleece-like feel to it, and like I mentioned before, it kind of has the feel of a synthetic suede. And the leather panels used on the shoe, they felt pretty synthetic as well. Just looking at the cross section from the side, it looks pretty synthetic, at least in my opinion. So I'd say that the overall material quality was kind of poor. But from a build and craftsmanship standpoint, I thought it was pretty decent. I didn't notice any flaws in terms of glue stains, the stitch job was good, the panels were cut and shaped consistently. So no complaints, at least from that standpoint. So with all that out of the way now, let's toss these on feet. I'll lace them up and I'll show you guys how these look. On a personal level, now that I have the Jazz 81 in hand, I think I can confidently say that I'm much more of a Shadow 5000, Shadow 6000, or even a 3D Grid Hurricane person compared to a Jazz 81 person. It's just personal preference. Obviously, this pair has much more of a retro look and feel, which isn't necessarily for me. And in terms of a colorway perspective, I thought it was kind of interesting. At first glance, it kind of reminded me of the Bison SB Dunk Lows. So this is a shoe that looks quite muted. When I wear these on the street, I'm pretty confident that they're not going to turn that many heads, and it's really one of those if you know sort of releases. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this Raised by Wolves Saucony Jazz 81. What are your overall thoughts on this collaboration? And for those watching, do you plan on picking these up? Are you going to potentially wait for these to go on sale if they do? Or you're not feeling these and it's going to be an easy pass for you? If you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can follow me on Instagram at esco8, check out my Twitter account at sean.go, and visit my website at seango.ca. So until next time, thank you everyone for watching. Another huge thank you goes out to Saucony Canada, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.